Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's final installment of the Daily Dose. Today is Friday, July 22nd, and we finally saw stocks pull back a little bit after what seemed like every day we were rallying this week, except for today. So, Facebook and Snapchat really suffered today. Snapchat absolutely blundered on their earnings report. It looks like Snapchat is starting to see a decline in use time, and it's pretty obvious that TikTok is taking a lot of screen time away from other social medias such as Snapchat. But Snapchat really led the way, down 39% today. Meta was down 7.5%. So big technology was really struggling today after leading the way most of the week. They were down. Nasdaq was down almost 2%, and the S&P was down almost 1%, and the Dow was down just under 0.5%. So, regardless of what happened today, all three indexes finished the week with modest gains, and we'll go over the week in full this weekend on Saturday, tomorrow, for the weekly wrap. So be sure to tune in for that. It's going to be a really good episode. I have a lot of good content planned. So, be sure to be there for that. But let's take a look at what happened today. So, we got this chart for Snapchat here. If you zoom out to the monthly, let's actually zoom out to the yearly. So, Snapchat is down significantly. They were trading at, let's look at the 5-year. The high on the 5-year is $83, and they're at $9.96. So, Snapchat is just getting wrecked, and rightfully so. Their numbers are really disappointing. So, let's not look too deeply into Snapchat. It's not too important to the indices. But yeah, they're seeing increased competition. Like I said, TikTok is taking a lot of use time away from all social media. So that's why we saw Meta down today too, because I bet they're anticipating that there's going to be some similar downturns in their numbers with Facebook. And I would be interested to see what Twitter did today as well. I didn't even check. So let's take a look at that actually really quickly. Twitter price. Let's see. Oh, Twitter was actually up today, so that's interesting. So yeah, Twitter was up today, but let's take it. Oh yeah, Twitter was up for the week. That's really interesting. So it didn't affect Twitter, but it did affect Facebook. So let's keep going here. Yeah, Facebook also just absolutely getting wrecked this past year. I'm not bullish on Facebook unless they can really take a huge share of the metaverse and kind of be a first mover there, but that's kind of all speculation. So, so Verizon was down today after their earnings point disappointed, similar to AT&T last week. So Twitter reported earnings today that missed expectations, but they're looks like with revenue missing expectations. So the revenue missed, and they reported a loss against expectations, but they still recorded a modest per share profit. So they're still keeping their heads above water, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Twitter and Elon Musk. It looks like they got a 5-day trial scheduled for sometime in October. So that'll be really interesting. So the euro went back above the dollar, so that's interesting. It's still trading really similar to the dollar. The dollar is really strong right now relative to its peers. And earlier this week, reports regarding preparations for energy rationing in the Eurozone over the coming months drew attention, and that's also happening in some places in the Southwest, like Texas and the United States. So we could see some really high demand for energy, and that could temporarily drive some of these energy stocks higher. Maybe oil bounces off this little trend right here and also goes higher. But yeah, that's kind of what happened today. We kind of saw the markets cool off from a little bit of a bear market rally. And I have the 5-day pulled up here. on the S&P 500 just so we can kind of take a look at it. So this was today, but this was the whole week. So if you see, let's see if we can get a line right there. Actually, you can kind of see right here. There's a little zone. It's not as prominent as I thought. I'll delete that. But yeah, so we rallied really here most of the week, and then we sold off today with a little bit of buying and recovery at the end of the day. But we'll get more into it this weekend. You see rallies like this in a bear market. You really do. Some of the most aggressive rallies and some of the biggest up days occur in bear rallies. It's not uncommon to see 7%, 8%, 9%, even higher in one day. In a bear market, and that's not what happened this week. We saw modest gains in the beginning of the week, but it's not uncommon to see rallies like this in a bear market, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a change of trend. So just that's why I was kind of saying to be cautious earlier this week, because there is no change of trend and there's no change in the macro quantitative tightening that's happening internationally and domestically. So there's really no intrinsic reason to become bullish here. So the trend is your friend, and we were down about 0.93% today. So so there really is no reason to become bullish at this stage. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. So like we discussed throughout the week, Bitcoin broke through this trend line and broke through this zone, but it hasn't showed strength yet. So the good news is it's broken through this zone, and it's still above this zone here. It hasn't broken back through yet. The bad news is it's really not showing a lot of strength. So if we look at it closely, there was a wick rejection here, and it bounced off, but now it's really putting pressure back on this zone that we had laid out for the past couple weeks. Still at this stage, it's not showing us if it's going to come back and this was a false breakout or not. It's not showing that yet, but it also isn't showing that it's going to fall through to the 28,000 that we've been looking at. So really interesting stuff here from Bitcoin. We'll have to see. It has been really correlated with the Nasdaq. So if we do see a heavy sell-off in the Nasdaq next week, I wouldn't be surprised if this breaks back through and we put more pressure back on the 19,000. And if we get a new low on the Nasdaq, then I wouldn't be surprised if we continue this bearish trend downwards to something like a 15 or a 10,000 on Bitcoin. But that is still that's still speculation. So right now, if it stays above this zone, I'm still expecting 28,000. But until then, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. So that's all I have today. Please be sure to be here tomorrow. I have a great episode planned for the weekly wrap. We're in an interesting time in the market right now. We're kind of seeing if we're about to see a continuation downwards, a capitulation downwards. Maybe we get newer lows in the next couple weeks on the indices, but we won't know until we see some confirmation on the price action. So be sure to stay tuned here, get all your news from here. We'll keep you up to date. But until then, we'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for watching.